has thousands of years of recorded history. In every major city, you'll find traditions that remain from the time of the pharaohs. Cruising on the Nile, Ramadan in Egypt, Eid, and also shopping. All have a different flavor. Explore Egypt on Nile TV International.
Good evening and welcome to a new edition of A Daily Debate. I'm Dina Osman, standing in for your usual host, Tagreed Hussein. This evening we'll be debating two hot issues. The first issue is President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi earlier in the day launched or gave the launch signal to the Farafra wheat production project. This move comes within the framework of the reclamation and cultivation of 1.5 million fiddans. Worth noting that around 10,000 fiddans have already, or 10,000 acres have already been reclaimed and cultivated. In the first phase of this project, 7,500 are actually cultivated of wheat. This evening with the distinguished gentleman we'll be discussing the Farafra project, more importantly the wheat. Have we reached a stage as Egypt to be self-sufficient or what? This is really one of the main questions that we'll be addressing with our distinguished guests. And in the second segment of this evening's debate, with us is His Excellency Ambassador Mohammed Higazi, who will be shedding light on Egypt's role as head of the UN Security Council this month. What is in stake? Quite a tough time, really trying times for the world at large, especially this region. What is the Egyptian agenda and how much can we achieve, linking what is taking place, our position as head of the UN Security Council, and let us not forget that we're also heading the Counter-Terrorism Committee that will be under discussion in the second segment. Before we do so, let me introduce our distinguished guest that will be shedding light on the wheat production project. With us this evening is Engineer Hassan Shaban, who is the former Vice Chairman of Al Wafd Party. A pleasure, as usual, to have you with us. Before we take a look at a small report about the Farafra project, let me ask you just a question. Will we be self-sufficient, yes or no?
Not yet. We will not be self-sufficient. There is a lot of measures that should be taken within the next 5 years to reach a close point where we could be self-sufficient.
Okay, this is the good news. We have 5 years to go to be close to self-sufficient.
But we will hopefully...
Well, we have a lot of work to be done. We'll take a look at the following report and come back and discuss what is this project exactly right after this, so please stay with us.
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi inaugurated on Thursday the first wheat harvest season in the 1.5 million fiddans project. The first stage of the project is being implemented in Al Farafra Oasis in the New Valley Governorate. Addressing the inauguration ceremony, President Sisi said that the cost of national projects is £1 trillion and £300 billion, noting that what is being achieved is unprecedented, as he praised results of the first stage of the project. The President noted that a network of roads will be established in Sinai, adding that a project of tunnels in Sinai will be implemented within 2 years. El-Sisi said that 2 water treatment stations will also be built in Sinai as part of a major developmental project for the area. The president said that such projects help in overcoming problems of slums by creating new communities. The president said that the national projects for electricity will also double production. Meanwhile, head of the Military Engineering Authority, Major General Kamel Al-Wazir, said that 40 wells were dug in the first stage of the projects and 400 residential units were established to provide services needed. The ceremony was attended by Prime Minister Sharif Ismail, Minister of Defense General Sidqi Subhi, as well as a number of military forces high-ranking officers. In the first stage of the project, the armed forces reclaimed 10,000 fadans, including 7,500 fadans of wheat. The project, implemented in 4 months, also included building 2,000 houses. 100,000 youths participated in implementing the first stage. Minister of Agriculture said that the project in Farafra achieved high record of production in desert areas. He noted that the model in Farafra Oasis will be followed in the other stages of 1.5 million fadans mega projects in other parts of the country, adding that the project is developmental, industrial as well as agricultural that creates new communities. The minister said that 70% of the land will be cultivated with strategic products to fulfill the food gap, while the other 30% will be cultivated with high-value crops to be exported. The minister noted that 3 models were set for different areas covered in the project according to different soil, water and climate.
Welcome back. Before we took a look at before we started this report, you said that we will, should we work, of course, be close to sufficient. Let us take the status quo on the ground right now. With this project, how far to the percentage of our needs that will be covered with this project is around how much?
Let me just tell you that we require at least to grow wheat in 2.5 million fadans just to be close to our needs. Close.
2.5 million.
Right.
Over what we have now.
Right. So how can we achieve this? We need to manage. You see, the agriculture in Egypt is not well managed. I'm not criticizing a Ministry of Agriculture or anything, because this has been going on for ages now. Actually, it doesn't make sense that you grow 1.5 million fadans every year starting mid-September or beginning of October with clover. Clover is a plant that you feed animals on. At the same time, when you grow clover, we grow wheat. So we prefer...
Clover is different from the cloves that we know.
Well, it's actually clover is the barsim.
Okay, because cloves is this herb, it's a different thing.
It's the plant that feeds cattle. So actually, we need to find a formula to, again, replace the 1.5 million fadans that we grow clover on right now, and cultivate them, grow wheat, and instead of that, we should go to the south, to Tushka, where this is the Nuba. From our border, southern borders and the western borders with Libya, all the way to Nasser Lake, or the High Dam Lake, we need to have a new vision. And if we talk all the time about ideas of that we think outside the box and have imagination, what we need to do actually, we need to first address the US government, who is our friend, and they actually claim that they want to help us. We have an underground river that actually flows from Central Africa all the way to the Qattara Depression. Lucky, the area where the Qattara Depression lies in the north and the equator, it helps this underground river to flow. But our scientists said that this underground river is not renewable. It's only scattered pockets of fossil water, and it's only good for about maybe 250 years, and it will dry out after that, and this will provide us with water to grow about maybe 200,000 faddans for that many years. Actually, if we sign a protocol with the American government, with NASA, they have a satellite that can detect underground water as well as minerals, but at this particular moment, we are concerned about water. We need to know really if this water is renewable or not. Even the worst case, even if it was not renewable, we should pick up a plant that does not consume a lot of water and grow cattle on it, because Nuba was known for raising cattle, cows and camels. And actually, if we make man-made meadows in this particular area,
yes,
it will only consume 1/4 of the regular water that a regular or conventional agricultural takes. So instead of this reservoir survives for 250 years, it will survive for 1,000 years. And we will create a job that our brothers in Nubia are very skilled in, which is growing cattle. We might even have an Egyptian cowboy, a Nubian cowboy at this particular area to follow the cattle. And we have the biggest cattle farm in the area. If we just cultivate about 300 or 400,000 faddans of wheat. Let's not really think of growing crops because we're very far from the markets, and to transfer or to export these crops, it will be very costly. So we might as well grow wheat, and this gradually will reduce the amount of clover that you grow in the delta and the valley to feed your cattle, because the cattle business will be concentrated in this particular area. So there won't be any need to occupy the fertile soil of Egypt with a plant like the clover. So you will win over a number of years 1.5 faddans that you are not really using them properly. You could add them to the 1.5 faddans that the government is trying to develop right now.
Yes.
So in this particular moment, we can talk about getting close to be self-sufficient. You need...
How long does this take? Should we start today? How
Yes.
long would it take us to get this job done?
I think between 2 and 3 years, we could actually be in business if
So
we have the right
Egypt
people.
can find itself, if it starts what you're talking about, in 3 years, almost self-sufficient. So we would not need to import wheat.
To a certain extent, yes. We could do that if we pick up the right types of wheat. Wheat is there is a number of families. We need to, we have experts in the university and in the Ministry of Agriculture that are experts in wheat, and they could come up with wheat or a blend of wheat that could yield more than what we are getting right now. But we could be on the right track for being self-sufficient.
And that in turn is a means of saving on hard currency.
Oh, definitely.
Because I think we import a lot of wheat.
Yes, of course. Yes.
We consume quite a lot.
He who do not produce his food will lose his freedom.
Yes, this is a translated.
Right.
Yes.
So actually, we need to know what are we doing. Why do we cultivate land? What is the purpose? Are we close to the markets? What are the proper crops? Maybe in the future we could turn some of the Air Force bases that are not being used for strategic reasons. We could utilize them to export crops and to Europe. I'm just telling
the 1.5 million acres, is this all? This is supposed to be to enhance food production. So is this just for wheat, or are we going to plant other things?
Actually, when you cultivate an area, you choose the proper crop for the area. Climate, we are in climate zone 9 and 10. And, suppose we're going to the north coast.
I mean, this Farafra area, this is good for what kind of?
Farafra area is an area suitable for a lot of crops, except cotton. It doesn't really, or rice, things like this. But wheat and vegetable, fruits. This is suitable for this area, and it's close to the markets because it's connected to Giza, close to the consumers. The north coast, which is an extension again to Farafra in the north, I think we owed to utilize the experience of the local people over there. They are very clever in growing olives. We need to grow olives. We actually import a lot of oil, eatable oil. This actually applies a lot of pressure over our imports. If we reduce the amount of oil that we import from outside, olive oil, also if we think outside the box, in the area of Halayb and Shalatin and in Marsa Matruh area, we could grow a plant that actually are watered directly from the seawater.
Okay, so we don't need to water
we don't need underground water, we don't need treated water, we don't need anything. We just grow that plant. The name of that plant is the Silicornia. It's part of a family called the halophyte that could survive salt water. And this particular plant could produce food for cattle again, and eatable oil. So when you actually develop an area, you think, what are we going to do over here? Are we going just to grow cattle? Are we going to produce leather?
Yes.
Are we going to preserve meat? You see, associated industries, part of our problem in the agriculture that we do not use our agricultural products as raw material for industry, except of course for maybe the potatoes, but generally speaking, we need to coordinate between industry and agriculture just to absorb all the extra production from the market, and we could sustain then a good level of price for the farmers. But everybody grows tomatoes, then the price of tomatoes go down. But if we have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 even mobile plants for tomato juice and produce tomato juice and preserve it, this will sustain a good level of price for the farmers. The Egyptian farmer.
Are we providing the Egyptian farmer with enough incentives to grow crops that we really need? In other words, you hear from a lot of farmers that, well, I don't want to grow this crop because the government is not buying it at a fair price, for example. Have we changed this culture to give the farmer
actually
to actually start growing strategic crops?
Actually, let me put it this way. The farmer is not really in his best conditions right now. The government is not doing enough for him. not in the training side, not in as a tutorial. They do not have tutorials to teach the farmers new methods of agriculture. There is a lot of problems that the farmers are facing. The whole issue requires a very close look. I think to develop Al-Farafra, yes, it's an excellent project, but we actually have to go along with that with human development. We need to train young people instead of drafting all of them in the army to defend our flag. We actually need to train them on modern methods of agriculture, irrigation, maintenance of agricultural equipment. We need to actually create a new base or a new brigade of educated farmers that are suitable for the new modern farming, like in Farafra, and there will be a lot of Farafras elsewhere.
Yes.
I would like to also stress on the fact that some time ago somebody came up with a map for new governors. They wanted to increase the number of governors. I would be very careful to do so. I really like to look into the matter in a different way. I like to coordinate between governors, existing governors, add to them areas in the desert, western desert and eastern desert. The western desert for agriculture expansion, and the eastern desert, Upper Egypt requires a lot of ports on the Red Sea to reduce time of transportation. You cannot really import through Port Said and Damietta and Alexandria to governors like Kenya. You need to activate Safaga. You need to encourage these ports to actually do a better job for Upper Egypt. Actually, the whole thing requires a very close look and a very wise and a lot of experience is involved in the sustainable development issue. It is not only agriculture, it's also housing, it's also hospitalization, it's also associated industries with agriculture. What are you going to do? How many people are you capable of sustaining? How many people this area can support?
Yes.
If we manage to even geographically spread our population over, the 1 million square kilometers that we have, it will be excellent. We need to really look into things. I would love to see a military establishment or a city similar to the Hike Step and the Hammam in the far corner, eastern corner, south to Owainat. The military presence over there will maintain security and will encourage people to go and invest in agriculture in this particular area. A lot of things could be done. We need to be ready. Plan B, if we have a problem in water, which is possible.
What should be Plan B?
Plan B is, suppose the water discharge drops, which is coming from Ethiopia. This means that the level of our lake behind the Aswan Dam will go down. This means that the banks of the lake will be exposed and a lot of sedimentation, very fertile soil will be created along the banks that competes with the delta soil. So actually we need to consider, are we going to grow tropical crops in this particular area, because it will be very suitable temperature as well as the quality of soil and the availability of water, underground water. Indeed, the lake might go down, but there will be a lot of seepage in the area where a lot of plants, palm trees that produces oil, or pineapples. We need to.
Can we reach a stage whereby we can say, for example, if it's a 5-year plan, that Egypt after 5 years can reach the stage where it is almost 90% self-sufficient in the basic strategic agro products?
You're familiar with
you can import some stuff because for example, maybe berries, raspberries are not suitable
or
for
strawberries, which is what we're doing actually.
The climate here might not be suitable to, but I'm talking about really most of your products. I mean, that I wouldn't hear that we're still importing garlic, for example, or lettuce, or tomatoes.
You're very familiar with the war against terrorism right now.
Yes.
We need to launch war against hunger. If we launch war against hunger and poverty, we could win in 5 years' time. This war is as important as the war against illiteracy and terrorism. These are.
Is it expensive? Because whenever you talk to any official, the excuse always is that it is very costly. I mean, land reclamation and cultivation is quite expensive. The water supply is quite expensive, and thus we keep putting this. Yet importing food is not cheap either.
I will, give you a good example for what's when the president actually flew to Russia some time ago. It was very well known that we export to Russia every year about 500,000 tons of potatoes.
Yes.
And we cannot produce the seeds of potatoes in Egypt for for reasons like we have very high temperature and it requires low temperature, and the plant will be cooled, and the cooling cost will be very expensive, put us outside the competition circle. Okay, but when the president went to Russia, if I was in his shoes, I would have proposed to the Russians the following: why not produce the seeds in Siberia? I will send my science. The Egyptians will work along with the Russians and produce the seeds in Siberia, which is a natural refrigerator. Okay? Get the seeds from Russia and grow them in Egypt. Produce millions of million ton of potatoes. Again, export whatever the Russians want, and we settle the cost of the seeds with what and then we take the rest and sell it to Europe.
Which is more cost effective for us.
Definitely. We need to think, in a commercial way. There is nothing wrong with that. This is not a crime to make a profit.
What's cost effective?
Exactly. We need to be clever. When the president went to Japan, why not just establish a big company and buy a huge oil tanker, change it to a fishery repair tanker, and send it to whatever, Indian Ocean, and get all the small ships in Damietta and Port Said and Suez work like hounding dogs around it. They fish and they dump their fish in this big tanker where it produces ice, preserved fish, and then send it to Egypt like every 2 weeks, instead of just our people being caught in Tunisia and in Somalia and Sudan sneaking to fish. Actually, we need, when the president went to Japan, actually Japanese are very clever in underground and sea science. If I was in his shoes again, I would have asked him to come and redevelop the Bardawil Lake for us, and this will be the biggest fishery area, not artificial, natural.
Yes.
They could grow weed in the bottom of the lake because we have a problem in the oxygen content in that particular lake. I think we're running out of time. I'm consuming the time.
Yes.
But, the Japanese are very good in developing, lakes to sustain life for fish. And we need to be clever, full stop. I'm just...
Well, we definitely need to work on making sure that our food comes from Egypt so that we can get our freedom, as you were saying. And this is an excellent way of saving hard currency, and it's an excellent way of employing people.
It's an excellent way of saving our face.
That too. Engineer Hassan Shaban, as usual, a pleasure to have you, with us. And we'll be off to our second segment, Egypt in the chairmanship of the UN Security Council. What is in stake and what is our agenda right after this, so please stay with us.
The Ministry